Now that we've seen Countdown to Craziness come and gone, we're starting to count the days until it's time for Duke basketball to play an opponent. The season is right around the corner, and we're so excited about it. Today is a great episode of Locked On Blue Devils.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Thanks so much for being here with us today on Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. We're talking a lot about Duke basketball these days, Duke football on a bye week, so we'll continue to break down what we saw from Countdown to Craziness. ACC tip-off begins today in Charlotte, where Jon Scheyer and a couple of players will be on hand to preview the upcoming season. And so who better to have on the program than our very good friend Ryan Lommen at the Duke Nation on X and also a part of the Crazie cast. It's going to be a good conversation coming your way in just a moment. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Like the podcasts. Watch us each and every day on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this video with your friends. So let's bring him into today's show. The season's right around the corner, which means we get to see from Ryan Lommen more frequently throughout the year. It's good to see you again, man.
You too. It's kind of crazy. We're doing this in early October. The countdown being so early this year, it's kind of gotten me a little more excited, a little bit earlier in the fall than I'm used to. But hey, if I can get excited for Duke basketball any earlier, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, a new calendar, ever-changing updates in terms of what football scholarships are looking like and transfer portal windows. There are just updates after updates taking place. And here we are trying to get set for this Duke basketball season. Countdown 1 month to the first official game of the Duke basketball season. But now we've got a couple of exhibitions that we get to watch and go through. We'll get to some countdown takeaways in just a moment. But I don't know, man. After getting just a little taste the other night, I'm excited to see 5 Duke guys playing together against another team.
Yeah, I already am. I know the guys definitely already are, and they still got to wait a couple weeks going up against Julius Hodges' team in Lincoln. I think it's D2 team that he just took over this year, the old NC State alum. So, yeah, I'm super excited for that. The fact that we get 2 games, and one of the exhibitions is against a good Arizona State team, which will be televised, which is all new stuff to us, but super excited for it. Normally we're getting these secret scrimmages that only a few people get to see box scores of or get some insights on. So super happy that we get to at least see some action before it really starts and ramps up. But yeah, I'm this new change is a welcoming one for sure.
All right, let's talk countdown. Countdown to Craziness the other night. Everybody wants to see what these player introductions look like, and then let's see them play a little ball a little bit. I personally was a big fan of the grand entrance. The teams revealed, kind of elevated, and then they've got to run down the hill, almost like we're at a Clemson football game, and they're running out onto the playing surface there. That just got me fired up, man, and good to see the team all together, man.
Yeah, it was really cool. I'm not like countdown's one of those things where I'm always super excited just to see the guys play. But after like the first half, I'm like, oh, like it's just our guys playing our guys, and like the hype dies down a little bit. But it's still fun to see Duke basketball. The showmanship that the program puts on, as far as all the theatrics of the night and everything, is always second to none. Especially even on the women's side as well, which is really cool to see. No detail goes unnoticed, that's for sure. And so watching them put that on was fun, and then just seeing a first look at our guys, especially the freshmen and the incoming transfers, was a lot of fun. Cooper Flagg obviously making his debut inside Cameron Indoor, and then guys like Sion James, Mason Gillis, then you bring in Kon and Darren and Khaman and all the guys. It was just so fun to see him in actual Duke jerseys playing on the court, and super impressive, man. I took a lot of my takeaways, which just like, this could be a deep team. This could be a really fun, exciting team. I think this is kind of that year where Jon Scheyer and staff kind of have their hands full as far as picking a rotation and sticking with it when March comes around.
Yeah, everyone wants to talk rotation. They want to talk starting lineups, and we got to see a little bit of that again with this scrimmage. 2 10-minute scrimmages for the men's team. The women's basketball team only played 2 3-minute scrimmages. They got some offseason injuries that they're having to deal with, and so kind of preventing the number of players that are available. that's a good place to start for this Duke basketball team, Ryan. Outside of incoming freshman Patrick Gamba II, pretty healthy Duke basketball team as we've ramped up here in the preseason practices.
Yeah, and that's always the biggest thing with this countdown game and the couple exhibition games, and even just like the bye games that we play and to start non-conference schedule was just let's just stay healthy, please. I know Darren Harris is coming off a surgery, a hand surgery, I think, or wrist surgery throughout the summer, but he's obviously back and playing at 100%. But otherwise, that's my biggest thing. It's always just these guys go up and they land hard or they land awkwardly. It's just like, just please be okay. Like we've gone through enough injury history at Duke, especially with feet, and Patrick's obviously already going through it. And so, yeah, just happy guys make it out of these unscathed and we're good to go for the regular season. But super impressed, man. I'm excited for this team.
Yeah, and well, when we talk injuries, Darren Harris is someone that you mentioned just a moment ago with what he was going through the summer. It was a long off season for Caleb Foster, having his freshman season cut short. He's finally healthy and back, and Caleb Foster walks away. You combine the efforts of both games. He's the leading scorer for Duke with 16 points in the countdown to craziness, wearing a headband for the first time, kind of a newer look for us to get used to. He's got the cutoff shirt underneath his jersey that he was rocking, and I was fairly impressed with what we saw out of Caleb Foster. And again, just happy that he looked fully healthy, and it really, you couldn't even tell that he had missed so much time over the course of the summer and at the end of last season.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what we need. This team's going to need that veteran leadership with the freshmen we have. We did a great job bringing in the right transfers, I think. But Caleb Foster taking that next step. Everyone is always looking for these huge jumps, I feel like, when it comes to this freshman to sophomore year, or even sophomore to junior year. And it's just always, for the most part, going to be a gradual increase in productivity. And I think Caleb Foster could surpass the gradual increase in productivity, but I think what we're going to see from him is just a more aggressive, more comfortable guy, especially playing alongside Proctor for the second year for him. I expect a good leap from him, but I am trying to tamper my own expectations of like, these guys aren't going to go from averaging 8-9 points a game to 20 points a game. It's not going to go from 1 assist to 5 assists. Like, we just have to have our expectations settled a little bit. But again, I think he's poised to have a breakout season and a really good season. I'm always trying to like keep myself calm and grounded that like he's still 18, 19 years old, 20 years old, and they only can make so much stride in a matter of months, especially coming off an injury. But Countdown was a great sign and stepping in the right direction for that improvement.
Caleb Foster, along with Tyrese Proctor, the two players that are joining Jon Scheyer in Charlotte for the ACC tip-off festivities today. Countdown to Craziness is come and gone. We're getting set for the first exhibition game of the Duke basketball season. More conversations with Ryan Lommen when we return here in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you could start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you want to check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. FanDuel is the perfect place to do that this NFL season. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Ryan Lommen's here with us on the show today. He's at the Duke Nation on X. He's a part of the Crazie Cast, and we're getting set for this upcoming Duke basketball season. Ryan, talking about some of the performances from Countdown, we talked about trying to figure out the rotation, although when you've got it divided up blue and white and you're wanting to make it a competitive game, we're not used to seeing all these guys together. What's your sense? Like when Jon Scheyer starts to put together a starting five, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, for me right now, it's Caleb, Proctor, Kon, Cooper, and Khaman are going to be, I think, the starting five to start the season. And it's just weird because the Kon hype obviously has been a huge thing. You've talked about it on your show. We've talked about it on our show. I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, but I don't think Kon was the one guy going into this offseason that everyone was like, he's going to come in and be this potential lottery pick. starting 5 guy and maybe just like an edge rotation guy. And he's obviously shot up the ranks as far as draft boards go. I think I'm not actually even that interested in where we have our starting lineup. I'm more interested in who's our final 4-minute lineup at the end of a game, especially against these strong opponents that we're playing the non-conference schedule. Who is Shire going to trust in these late game situations? Kon's a freshman. I'm not saying he won't be there or shouldn't be there, but do you replace him in the last 4 minutes to close a game out with a guy like Sion James or even a Mason Gillis? What does that look like? Starting 5 is great. It's fun to talk about. It gets headlines, but that final rotation and who's going to be playing when they need a stop or when they need a bucket or when they're down 4, or when they're up 4 with 4 minutes to go, who's going to be closing out the game is going to be interesting. I'm all for a guy like Kon being on the floor in those moments without seeing him play a minute of Duke basketball outside of a countdown to craziness, because he can knock down shots and he's I'm not as down on him as a defender as some are. I think he's going to have the size to stick in front of some guys, but that's what it's going to come down to, I think, for me is, and where it'll get interesting is what the staff does in the last 4 minutes of a game.
Yeah, everyone really excited to see Kon Knueppel get started this season. 6'7" out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, wearing jersey number 7. That's never been worn before for Duke basketball. Again, the number 16 recruit nationally by 247 Sports, the Gatorade Wisconsin Player of the Year, shooting 39.5% from three-point range. I think we're going to see a really excellent three-point shot from him, and I think a lot of people, myself included, are in agreement with you, Ryan, in terms of what that lineup could look like with Foster and Proctor, your 2 returning guards, and then a trio of freshmen in Knueppel, Flagg, and Khaman Maluach. So when we look at what Maluach is able to do on the interior, got to see him there at Countdown. We saw him play with South Sudan. I think for this Duke team, having another big interior presence right out of the gates to start these games is going to be awesome.
I love it, man. I'm super excited for him. He's going to be raw. He's going to have his moments. But for him to go up against a guy like Malik Brown in practice every day, obviously doesn't have the size that Khaman does. But just the athleticism, the defensive ability that he's shown in the ACC and especially last season is just unmatched. I mean, people don't talk about like the practices that they had back in the day when it was Marvin Bagley and Wendell Carter and Zion and RJ and the guys that they had and Marquise Bolden. Like they talk about practices being the most beneficial that they had. And I think Malik Brown is just going to make him better. And back to my point earlier about who finishes the game, I'm not convinced Khaman is going to be at the end of the game rotation. Malik Brown could absolutely come in and take those minutes as well. So, but yes, having that 7-foot plus rim protection guy, he's got a 9'8" wingspan, like, or standing, I think it's a standing reach or wingspan, one of the two. Either way, he doesn't jump very high to protect that rim. And so I'm super excited for that. We kind of missed that in a sense last season, and we've been pretty spoiled with rim protection in the last few years. So having guys like Derek Lively and Mark Williams, Duke's used to having guys that can run the floor and protect the rim, and Khaman's going to be able to do that, maybe at a little more of a raw level than we've seen in the past. So some patience is going to be needed. But I did like the quote he said after Countdown to Connor O'Neill at Rivals, where he said that he's never really played in front of a home crowd before. It's always crowds screaming at him, against him. And he said it just felt good to be inside Cameron Indoor and have people cheering for him. And so it just seems like he's having fun. And I think that sets you up to have more potential than maybe before when you have a guy who's having fun out there.
We're going to be cheering for him a lot. I can already go ahead and make that declaration for a lot of people, but getting to see his versatile game take place at Countdown was tremendous. We talked about the three-point shot. We saw that with a couple of outside jumpers that he knocked down during the Olympic period over the course of the summer. At Countdown, he banks in the 3. He's grabbing rebounds, kind of altering shots, and then had some grown man dunks too, which hopefully, given his age and given how young he is, he's ready to provide some of those mean and nasty grown man dunks.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing with him is I had the stat line pulled up. I think he was 7 points, 4 rebounds for the game. And like, that's like, that'd be a fine, I mean, more than 4 rebounds, but like for a 20-minute scrimmage, like those are great numbers for a guy like that. Like we shouldn't expect him to go out there and get over 12 points every night. Like he's going to be that like 6 to 10 points a game. And you kind of hope he matches that in rebounding as well. And then block shots are going to be huge. He had 2 at Countdown. Like just having those good solid stat numbers for a guy like him is what we're looking for. We're not looking for him to make post up moves and make shots in the paint. Just be the cleanup guy, get dirty with it and protect the rim is kind of all I think this staff is going to ask of him.
Because a lot of people are going to be wondering when you're watching his game come together, what does the endurance look like? What does the stamina look like for him? 7'2". That's a large frame to get up and down the floor and play at the pace that Duke wants to play this upcoming season. And so that might also be a reason, Ryan, why his stat numbers, if you were to just look at the counting stats, might be a little bit lower because the minutes aren't going to be as high as a lot of his teammates out there.
Exactly. And having a guy like Malik Brown coming in off the bench behind him is just so pivotal for his growth and for him to not have to be pushed to that 30, 35 minutes a game that you might see if we just didn't have anybody to go to behind him. And he's been playing a lot of basketball at a high level basketball, at least in the last 6 months. And so, he should be in basketball shape now, as far as like, being tired out and stuff and burnt out. That's obviously could be a concern, but it's not like he's coming in off of, knock on wood, an injury right now. And so he's coming in probably the best shape of his life. And so that should be something that Duke fans are excited about. And like you said, we have someone to come in off the bench and fill his shoes when needed. Yeah.
Can't wait to see exactly what his year looks like as he progresses each and every day. All right. We're set to take our last break here on the program today. We'll have more conversations with Ryan Lommen when we return in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. It's a new feature called Game Time Picks that we want to tell you about, and that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks makes it easier to save more. All-in pricing. Turn this feature on, and you can toggle it to show the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. The seat views are amazing inside the app, where you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy your tickets. It's the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's Game Time, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, we go forward here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. I'm JJ Jackson. He's Ryan Lommen at the Duke Nation on X and a member of the Crazie cast. Give folks out there a little preview of your show.
Yeah, man. It's me, Zion, who's at Duke NBA, and Russ at Duke Better on X. And we've been doing this live show now for a few seasons in different capacities. And this year, again, going to be a big one like last year, probably doing upwards of 20 to 30 shows this year. We do post-game shows, so we get on here right after and react live on YouTube with the Field of 68. So should be a fun season, man. We're trying to be more structured with our shows and be on as much as we possibly can, but it gives fans a chance to react with us. We show comments on the screen and everything, so it's a great place for all Duke fans to interact.
And on X, you're at the Duke Nation. Give us of an overview of your page.
Yeah, lately it's just kind of been a place where Duke fans can get reliable information on what's going on. I give my opinion here and there, and I'll do live game tweets as well. But for the most part, you just expect to not miss any updates as far as Duke basketball goes. Not missing any visits, any pictures from visits, recruiting news, anything like that I'm hearing or seeing. It's kind of like an aggregate for all of Duke basketball news. So it's always fun.
We need some commitments, man.
Dude, we do. It's weird.
We're due for some of those.
Yeah, we do. We really do. And hopefully, I know you're going to talk about it, but hopefully we can get a couple coming here in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, the Boozer twins are the big one that a lot of people want to know about. We had Shelton Henderson, Nate Ament, and Caden Lewis on a visits for Countdown to Craziness this past weekend. Duke is one of only 3 teams in the ACC with Louisville and Stanford that have not received a single commitment in the class of 2025, which a school that's been the premier recruiter in college basketball for a decade plus. It's an odd feeling, Ryan, for us to kind of feel like we're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, it's weird too. Like every summer, I'm always like very into recruiting, like messaging people who I have in contact with in the past in regards to recruiting. And this summer was just kind of like a la-di-da summer. Like I haven't had to been worried and stressed out in June or July about where we are with recruits. And I mean, in a typical recruitment with the Boozers, like I probably would be, but there's no one that has info. No one knows
Yeah.
besides them and their family. It's been one of the most tight-lipped recruitments that I have ever, I'd call it followed, but there's nothing to follow because you just never know what's going to happen until one of the big news outlets report something. And so, yeah, it's weird. We're a year away from these guys coming on campus and starting games with us, and we have no commitments and really only targeting 4 or 5 guys as of right now in some strong capacity. So it's weird. I don't mind the not having to worry about what these 16, 17-year-old kids are going to do with their lives as a 32-year-old man with a family. But it's just weird. It's different. Like you said, it's not something we're used to, but I have faith in the staff. It's nice to not have to worry, but also not be like, what is going on? What is the staff doing? It's just like, nah, they know what they're doing. They have this team that we have right now who are probably going to return some people next season. We have the transfer portal. Like, we don't need to sound the alarms just yet.
Yeah, a lot of VIP stories out there on the big recruiting websites trying to get updates on the Boozer twins and where they might go. Florida, Miami, Duke. A lot of people feel like it's down to Duke and Miami. And it seems like everyone wants to put 50-50 out there in terms of a toss-up as to where these guys might go. So,
yeah, and I've heard in the last 2 hours, I've heard from one person at a major news outlet, lean Miami, and I've heard from another person at a different network, lean Duke. So it's like even the guys who are in the know don't really know, and I don't think are getting the source of their information directly from these guys or their families. It's just kind of what people around them maybe have a gut feeling of. And so, and we don't even know for sure if the commitment is happening tomorrow or today, Thursday, October 10th is when like the rumored report was of their commitment. We don't have a time. We don't have of when it's going to where it's going to happen, or even if it's going to happen. They haven't said anything. And so the best you can do as a person in our situation is turn notifications on for everybody and all of their posts and stories across all social medias, and just hope you're not busy during that time. That's all you can hope for.
This is our Wednesday show. So to your point, we're hearing a lot of tomorrow talk. Although the tomorrow talk has not been said one single time by either brother,
No.
And so we talked yesterday on the program with Connor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated about, what could possibly be here for Duke. I'm curious, strategy-wise, Duke fans, we want another one videos that the program releases. Yeah. Do they release 2 videos if both Boozer twins commit? What does that look like?
Yeah, maybe they make something special, like another 2 or something
up. Yeah.
Exactly. And even like I didn't even mention, like Trilly hasn't even put a GIF out there of anything yet. Like if Trilly hasn't done anything a day before what's supposed to be the commitment, like then I don't know what to say at this point, because it's weird. You don't get these very often, especially in the year 2024 with social media. Like something is out by now the day before, or at least people are leaning one way. And right now we don't have anything, man.
No clue at all. So we'll see how all of that plays out. Good to see Duke basketball at ACC Media Day in Charlotte. Another indicator that, hey, the season is right around the corner. To your point, typically this happens, and then we've got countdown to craziness. Yep. So a little bit of a different sequence that Duke's able to meet with the kind of national media there in Charlotte, having already done their annual preview event, and excited to see what this team looks like in the season to come. So, Ryan, great to see you as always, my friend. One more time, promote all your work.
Absolutely. At the Duke Nation on X and on Instagram and on TikTok. I'm back on TikTok. I've been posting the countdown highlights, so going to try to work that channel as much as possible, but also Crazie Cast on X and on just X and YouTube. Field of 68. You'll find us. Just follow me on X, and you'll get everything that you need to keep
Absolutely.
it up. Yeah, appreciate you, man.
For sure, Ryan. We'll talk soon. All right.
Absolutely. Thanks, JJ.
That's Ryan Lommen at the Duke Nation on X, joining us here on today's show, and what a show it was. Coming up tomorrow, we'll talk more Duke basketball. Hopefully, we've got some good news to share with you regarding the Boozer twins and other things taking place inside the Duke basketball program. That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.